Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSPmagazine. You're listening to a new Two Cyber Chicks podcast. You're about to join Erika and Jax for an inclusive cybersecurity conversation designed to educate and break the stereotypes of cybersecurity professionals while providing life hacks on how to handle burnout, networking, and goal setting. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Cyber Chicks. This is episode 2. Really excited because we are going to be sitting down with two amazing guests. And actually, Erika, I don't even know why we're doing this show because they could literally run it for us.
You could just ask them their own questions.
I know. If you guys can't tell who we already have on the show just by our bantering back and forth, we have the founders of ITSPmagazine on the show today. Super excited. Sean, Marco, how are you guys?
Woo! Two cyber dudes.
Two cyber dudes, whatever that means. We're very excited.
One and a half cyber dudes.
We were really trying to do like the whole banter thing before. You guys do it really well, and I don't think we nailed it as well, Erika, but I think we'll get it figured out.
That was good.
No, I love it. I loved it. And it's something that it comes natural, if you want to hear my opinion. You can't plan those things. No, it's like, this is going to be my signature, the way we enter, the way we get off. And it's like, if it's artificial, it's not going to work. It has to come. And you guys have been working together for a long time, I'm sure.
Yes.
We'll figure that out.
We're here learning from two old pros, Sean and Marco. So, I mean, definitely to kick off a conversation, I am just curious. First off, how did you guys meet? Because from an outside looking in, it looks like you guys have known each other for ages.
Well,
Sean,
I'm
your
10 years old
version.
now. My version. Is this like the boyfriend, girlfriend, how did you meet story?
It's the same answers.
Oh boy, where do we go, Marco? I mean, so the beach, Southern California. I moved to the beach, and we had a mutual friend, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to tell the story. We had a mutual friend. We consistently met at a coffee shop in Hermosa Beach. And you were working there. I started doing some things there. I was actually on sabbatical and took a job with a French company doing some consulting. And I think I brought you into that. We were like, what the hell is the security industry doing with Mark just showing a software box as their pitch for their cool new product. And we became friends immediately, but then we were able to do some cool work together. Well before the magazine came to mind, we actually did a number of ventures together before this one. So quite a journey.
So let's see if you have the same thing to report.
I do. I agree with that. It was a common friend that used to work with Sean. We don't need to do a brand name. And we were friends working out of a coffee shop. That was my office at the time. And Sean just walked in and I didn't really even think much about cybersecurity at the time. I was very insecure online.
Just like everybody else.
I come from branding, marketing. That's my background, and sociology of communication. But at the time, I remember it was one of the first projects that we did together was, how do you market cybersecurity? And it was still the time, I think, of boxes. If you don't have the picture of the rack, the server to show, and the box, here is Windows 3.1, go buy the box. What do you do? And so we started talking about the need to humanize the experience. And then I think he started brewing ITSPmagazine right there, that connection between cybersecurity and society. What is the perception of it? That's how we met. It was way longer than when we started ITSPmagazine. Yes. And I remember, Sean, that time that you dragged me to RSA conference the first time.
That's right.
That was my first dive in. I don't even remember what it was like. What was it? 2015, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Fun. Now we are.
Here we are. I think we did a couple other ventures too. Like remember the Town Barker, the Town Barker and Community Shopper.
Yep. Yeah. Few things.
A few consumer-driven projects that I think we learned a number of lessons as we entered the ITSPmagazine world. Of how not to do stuff.
Yeah, mostly what you learn is how not to do something.
How not to waste a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Failing is the best way to learn, though. Fail forward. I love when they say fail forward. I mean, when I fall, I always fall forward. Unless I'm snowboarding, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, you hope you fall backwards and you snowboard though, Marco, don't you?
No, actually I ski. I did try snowboard a couple of times. But that was another adventure that Sean and I have shared, skiing together.
Was it the mutual friend that ran you over?
No, that was some guy with a snowboard that ran me over while I was just sitting there, and I lost my couple of things there. Yeah, that was fun. But it was with the communal friend.
Including a few muscles.
So how long have you guys known each other year-wise?
That's a good question. That's where we're going to fail miserably. But I would say
2014.
Okay.
I'm going to say a little earlier than that. But
could have been.
It's about right. It's about right. Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
So for Sean, they were a fish in 2014. Marco says that they've been together for a lot longer. I don't know.
I was asking for the commitment.
This is hysterical. I am loving this. So, just so I have a clear picture of this, before you guys met, you were in the cybersecurity space?
I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay, so you've been there, but Marco, you got kind of brought into it because of Sean, and then you went to RSA in 2015, and that must have been an experience for you. But before that, you had no cybersecurity background or anything like that.
No, I still don't even consider myself. We were joking before starting. I don't even know if I am in cybersecurity yet. I'm always the one that bring the outside view, like the what if, right? What I just take the point of view of society and the regular people or the business person. And I think that's what make us that kind of odd couple when we do the magazine, when we do the show, even when we moderate a panel, there's always okay, you're the one with the stock of IT stuff, and I am the stock with the human in it. So I think that's the dynamic that we have. But yeah, my background is political science, sociology of communication, and a lot of branding and advertising, which it kind of, again, it's how we started to look at this cybersecurity world in that way. And I think it applies to even the way that we are portraying our industry into the world, and how it's a cool, and I think we had this conversation with you, Jax, it's a cool profession, but we're not good at making it cool. So it's really weird.
Unless you're a hacker.
I checked. 2007.
That's
when we met.
That is a much longer time. Yeah.
I told you.
Oh, that's when you guys met? 2007? Wow.
Yeah.
For any of our listeners who are really wanting to get to the bottom of it, it's 2007. Yes. That is how long Marco and Sean go back. So let's kind of fast forward the timetable a little bit. We go to RSA. You guys are already, working together, bringing the best out of one another, balancing each other out perfectly. Where did the vision of ITSPmagazine come from? Let's talk about when it was in baby stages.
It may have been there at RSA conference. I mean, the bottom line is it's exactly what we started working on, doing some marketing, some website development, and some campaign for company in the cybersecurity space where Sean was consulting for. And I was like, I have no idea how to represent this. I remember one of the first thing was to bring the pictures of labs, laboratories where you're developing something. Try to picture, even people in a really scientist trying to fight the evil attacker and that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is tough. It's not human enough. And so with that back and forth between what the company wanted, the fear to portray themselves in a different way, I was trying to come in with look, it's kind of like the pharmaceutical industry. You're not showing the bottle of the pill. If you're doing, antidepressant or things that make you feel better, you're showing an insurance company that, they're not going to show you the insurance card. They're going to show you people happy. with no worries, where the product deliver what it needs to deliver, which is ultimately peace of mind. And at the time, you could say, oh, this is, if you use my product, it's unhackable. Now you don't want to say that anymore. But that's how the idea came in. I'm like, if we cannot figure out a way to present it, how are the CEOs of companies that need to use this product or this service are going to understand this? The jargon, right, Sean? I remember, that's one of the things when we went there at RSA, of like, everything is an acronym. And I'm like, what the hell that mean? I was constantly asking Sean, what is that? What's that? What's that?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I'm going to give a shout out to good buddy Dan Kaplan, who was editor at ITSPmagazine, because he basically helped me break in journalistic perspective. So I used to write for them, then I ended up writing for Dark Reading and a bunch of other publications. What I found was the news part of that was boring. And I found that I really wanted to look at it from an analyst perspective, kind of like the Gartners and Forrester type of perspective. What are the trends? Where are things going? Where's the tech stack going? Where's the human stack going? And what are the stories around that? And so the news was boring. The stories were really, for me, what drove my brain to really dig into things. And then the next level was, what do you do with that story? I'm looking to protect my business. And I often say, how do you operationalize security? Who's the team involved? What do they have to do? Who are the stakeholders? How do they implement it? How do they manage it? How do they measure it? How do they deal with risks in their own programs? And I have a program manager head by default. So everything to me looks like a project, A to Z, with ambiguity and milestones and all kinds of stuff going on. So for me, it was really around taking those stories from an analytical trends, storytelling perspective and bring that to life as well. Some of the first stuff at ITSPmagazine, you can tell from the name, we were a magazine, did a lot of written stuff. We had a lot of contributed stuff as well. And eventually we found that telling stories audibly was something we really wanted to do, hence the podcast.
Yeah. And if I may add that, it's how then you translate that story of an analyst, of somebody that work in the industry, into a sales story, into that B2B relationship that you need to have. And then from there, it become even more fun, because then it became not just a B2B, but a B2C, and try to educate the users. And so it became really relevant, what Sean said, the storytelling, and how you need to tell the story in different way, not changing the story, right? But changing the way that you tell the story so that you can appeal to whomever your target audience is at the time. Is that the boards? Is it investors? Is that the final user? And everybody, really. That's the bottom line. So, and that's ITSPmagazine. We're still working on that.
Every day it changes.
Can you guys share a little bit about the platform now with the listeners of how it's formatted, and how, like, Erika and I have a spot with ITSPmagazine and kind of the vision behind that, how that works?
It's exactly this. You're telling different stories. You come from different background. You have your own experience. You focus on a specific topic, and everybody is passionate about something. This industry certainly is not the kind of industry that you can know everything. Although some people, I think they do, but not going there. So everybody, Sean and I always say, look, we need more people to tell story from their point of view. Diversity, inclusion, not trying to tell the story the same way has always been at the core of what we do. As a matter of fact, if we want to go back in time again, when we started, one of the first column was actually about equality, right? With Changxi Wang. She was on board with us at the beginning with this, and from there we kind of understood it wasn't just diversity in terms of equal opportunity for women and different genders, but was like neurodiversity and diversity of background coming in the industry. I mean, I think, Sean, if we can say something, is even in these 6 years that we had ITSPmagazine, I may be wrong on the number again, it's the fact that it has changed. I mean, the people that come in the industry now with this conversation that you guys do, and people like Chloe does, and Philip with the Hacker Factory, and I don't want to forget other people, but everybody is bringing something to the table. They're all different stories. So that's why we need you. It can't just be Sean and I. We will get boring really quick.
Yeah, and I think that the core thing, and people visiting the site will see this, we really want to focus on the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. So any connection of those two or three of those things really drives us. And there's a human element in that. There's a societal element in that. There's technology supporting that. And of course, we need to do all of that in a way that serves us as humans, not the other way around. And that means everybody needs to have a place at the table and a voice in the room and an opportunity to help define what we want in life using technology in a secure and safe way. And so I think we're constantly looking at new conversations, and Marco and I have our own little channels, our channels that we run, but we're constantly getting requests for and referrals for folks who are interested in bringing different conversations that fit at that intersection. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you guys have a lot of different voices and different individuals, different podcasts like Erika's and mine, and it has to be a lot to manage. I know for us, we've gone through our set of challenges, figuring out the best flow of like who's going to fill out the podcast form, because there's a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of back end to running a podcast. Who's going to fill out the form? Who's going to do the podcast edits? Who's going to do this? You guys do a lot on your end. Can you share with us a little bit of the challenges that you guys had building this out, and maybe have currently had with some of the restructuring, the things that you guys are doing right now with your branding?
You want me to go? This is my favorite thing, Mark.
It's operations. So you go with that.
It is operations.
Then I'll jump in with the humans.
How do you operationalize
the ghost in the machine?
How do you operationalize a podcast platform? For me, it's two parts. One is communication, and the other is automation. And of course, you can't do automation well if you don't know how something's going to work in the first place. You have to have that kind of down right. And actually, I've been doing some podcasts with one of our sponsors on this very topic. Because again, I think like a program manager, how do you get from A to Z? So automation has been key in terms of, you mentioned forms. Well, who gets on the show? Who qualifies? What's the conversation going to be like? How do you schedule it? How do you prepare documents so Marco and I, we don't prepare much, but we need to know what we're going to talk about when we head into the conversation. How and where do you store the recording? Who has access to it to produce it? How does it get posted to platform for publication? Who manages the distribution of all that? How do we notify the guests? How do we help them share the conversation? So like in our notifications, we include a link to the podcast and the embed code so they can put it on their site, things like that. Because it's all about getting this story out. So that leads into some of the conversation post-production. But even before the production, we have to, for ourselves, Marco and I have to, again, what's the schedule look like? What's upcoming? What's recorded? What's booked? What's ready to produce? So we have to communicate with each other and our team about that. And then with our hosts like yourself, we need to know the same, right? So what's coming? What day is it going to be produced? Where does it fit in? Which newsletter does it go into? All that stuff. We try to connect those dots with tools and automation whenever we can to help keep the communication flowing, keep the status clear for everybody, and hopefully eliminate as many hiccups as possible. There's always something, of course, but for me, that's the fun part. And then Marco has the
it's just like cybersecurity. You want to automate everything, and then you realize their humans are in the picture. Exactly. So all of a sudden it's like, damn it.
Yeah. Oh, we need to reschedule. Crap.
Well, not only that, but it's like, okay, everything is automated, but is the story exciting? It's the human that is actually creating the content. The guests are the right guest. Is it the style of the communication, right? And so that's where I really come in. I think my background in, creative direction, I love that. I'm passionate about radio, old school radio, everything about that for me. As a kid, when the video killed the radio star, I was really sad to hear that song. And then I was very happy to know that the radio didn't die. I'm like, yes, take that. right? And then the
we even
internet
have a radio.
Oh, I have plenty of like vintage radio. I love those. You can see it.
I mean, there's ITSP Magazine radio as well.
Oh, there is an ITSP Magazine radio in kind of a beta version still, but it's going. It's a web radio. So I'll try to bring it in on the table. But to connect with that, for me, the big part is I was just looking at the channel that we have now. Some came and some have gone. Some people thought they could do and commit, but as you guys said, all of you, it's a lot of work. It's not just well, you're a guest, sure, show up, talk whatever, answer the question as long as you're qualified. That's cool. But when you are creating something that people are waiting excitingly to be when it's dropping the next episode and be excited about it and have that repetition, that familiarity with the style of the host and why people tune in at the radio at that time. Like now with podcasts, we can tune in whenever we want, but it's like TV before streaming or before VHS or before TiVo. That was fun. And we took the time. We knew that at that time, there is that host, there is that show, there is that episode. I think that it's important for everyone to carve that own persona, and you cannot have everybody liking you. That'd be weird. Somebody are not going to, but that's cool. And that's why different voices differentiate. But while I was looking at the podcast that we have now, I think the message is clear, is nobody goes with a script. Nobody has this Q&A style. It's all conversational. And we do like to call it a conversation because it's spontaneous. And I am so, I feel like we're lucky because we found people like you guys that do this very well. And it's part of our brand. I couldn't accept somebody that has a different style. And most of all, that is creating bad vibes. I was going to use a bad word, but I'm just going to say bad vibes. I don't care how many million.
ITSP Magazine, Marco. I'm sorry.
If it slides in, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But we're trying to get like kids friendly, the education part. I mean, Ellen, which we will have an episode with her, Ellen Sue with Delta X. She just won a very important award from the Schmidt Foundation to keep doing what she's doing, pretty much bringing positive into the world. And she's 16 years old and she's one of the best together with all of you. And I want kids to listen to this. I want them to get in STEM. I want them to get excited. I want them to think of hackers as cool people that are saving the world, not whatever that the mass media are portraying them right now. So it's a big battle, but we're all fighting it together. So that's cool.
Well, the cool thing, and I'll just touch on Ellen's work briefly, because that's an audience that needs to know about STEM and cybersecurity, and they're probably not going to listen to Marco and I. So Ellen's perfect for that. The growth that she's had, she started off with an organization out of San Diego and then brought it on as her own show, recently rebranded it to Delta X. And she's having some great conversations around technology and innovation and a lot of things that students are interested in. Kids, she's a kid. Kids her age, and she's doing an amazing job. It's incredible.
That is so awesome. And obviously, Jax and I are huge fans of ITSP. I mean, we can't say it enough, but I think that that's a unique flavor that you guys brought to the industry, was bringing a platform that is not selling one voice. It is not selling one vision, one direction, one perspective. And I think that there's a lot to say with, people like Ellen who are servicing the younger generations, Jax and I who are trying to empower others through leadership skills, through soft skills, through, any kind of life hacks that we can come up with and not just focusing on the technicals. I think ITSP Magazine has such a good variety of those experiences that, you may tune into a show and be like, man, I love this show. I want to check it out every time it drops an episode. And it may lead you to exploring other shows. So I think it's a great platform all around. And I'm super, super curious, without giving too much away, is there anything coming out in 2022 as far as ITSP Magazine goes, from either branding perspective, newness, any kind of insight you can give us, even if it's just a little nugget, hint? We'll take anything. Would love to give insight perspective into anything new coming.
I am, and I know Sean is too, very excited about something that is already on the site. So it's not like a secret coming up, but it's something that maybe we're just hinting on what it's going to be, and it's called The Other Society. And The Other Society is a series of panels and live panels. And you may not know that, but you will be involved in it, as the other hosts are going to be. So we're going to host those on topics that goes to everything that touch technology, society, and cybersecurity. So try to think about something in life nowadays that doesn't touch technology. And that'd be a challenge. So it's going to be very, very wide in terms of topics. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence, smart cities, digital transformation, although that's an old word anyway, cybersecurity and ethical hacking, and machine learning, and the metaverse and virtual reality, and all those fun stuff that we want to involve people. But the way we want to do that, it's in the name. So The Other Society for us, and if people go on the website and they look at the banner we're using, there is 2 planets Earth, which was one of the images taken from NASA, one of the Apollo mission from going around the moon. And it's 2 planets. It is the same planet. We just overlapped the image to show that there is something better out there that we can build together. And that's possible if we harness technology to serve humanity and not just following, and now I'm going to say it, Sean, the blinking lights. And just because they're cool, we're going to take that. So really thinking about the things that we do, how we can do it better, clean energy being one of the renewable, circular economy. I mean, we want to talk about all that stuff. And cybersecurity, it's part of each one of it because that's how we live our life. So I'm excited about that and bringing really big brains into the conversation.
Yeah. So picture a CES, or it's the one in Austin, I can't remember the name of it, the conference in Austin. Anyway, picture something like that, and picture your favorite panel discussion at one of those events. And that's what we're going to try to create in these live panels. So top-end names, top-end conversations, really getting into what are we trying to accomplish as a society, and how can we leverage technology to do that without screwing ourselves over, and how can we do that safely? So keeping in mind privacy and security, and ultimately health and safety as well. And I mean, I'm really excited for these because they'll be live. They'll be really, really good conversations. It's almost like every couple of weeks you can attend one of your favorite panel sessions at a really cool conference.
That'll be really cool. I'm excited for that. Well, Marco, Sean, it's about that time. But before we wrap up, we want to first thank you both for coming on to the show and just sharing your insights into the inner workings of running a podcast and what that looks like. But before we hop off, if there are any individuals that are listening to this right now that either just want to reach out to you, better support ITSP Magazine, or maybe they want to host a podcast with you, what is the best way for them to be able to reach you?
Well, I believe there's a spot on the site, and I probably should look this up, where you can say you want to host. Marco, do you have the URL?
We're so prepared for that. We'll put it in the notes. But yeah, there is
episode show notes.
There is a couple of forms. One is to become a creator. If you go to the radio or the podcast link,
it's a radio page. Yes.
Yeah, there is a link to that, and I think the message there is what I said before, which is everybody has a story or a way to tell a story, or is passionate about something. And we would like to open these to other conversation. Right now, we're really strong on the cybersecurity part of it, and that's great. That's how we started, and where we have, luckily, people like you. And I don't want to make a list because then I'll forget someone, but we have people very, very respected.
And it's going to change by the time this drops as well. So
yeah, probably. But we want people that are passionate about whatever it is with technology, society, and cybersecurity, and the intersection of at least one of the two. So if somebody's passionate about the climate change and the way that technology can serve that, we want to hear those conversations. And the most important thing, to bring passion and in a different way to tell the story. And we will help as much as we can. I mean, we're still learning. We are far from being a big publication, so every support that we can get in terms of sharing, if people like what we do, please do that. Everybody's going to benefit, all the hosts, and I think we're trying to educate, so why not? Everybody's going to learn something. So, and share the idea with us.
There are different models. I mean, so we have single hosts, we have dual hosts, we had trio hosts. I know there's some formats where somebody might take some news elements and just talk about those. The format is really up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Comfortable sharing your own thoughts and having a monologue, or do you want to have a co-host and the two of you just rap? We have a channel like that. Or do you want to have guests and get their perspective and their story? So those all work. So again, it's whatever you're passionate about, sitting at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society with an aim to educate and get people to think. I'd be happy to entertain a channel and a show for you, for sure.
I love that. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Marco. You guys have been awesome. Thank you again for coming on the show today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you both for inviting us. This has been really fun, kind of a blast from the past for me anyway. Not as far back as I should have gone initially, but and I want to thank you, Jax and Erika and John as well, for being one of the early channels on ITSP Magazine, having some amazing conversations, consistently bringing people on and getting people to think all around the leadership and helping folks really understand what their place is in this crazy world of IT and cybersecurity. So thank you very much for all that you do, and everybody tune in to Two Cyber Chicks. Subscribe.
Awesome.
Subscribe.
Thanks, guys.
And one last thing, we call it the family. We do the post on Twitter all the time, on LinkedIn. We really mean it. We don't want to work with people that are not going to be part of something constructive and educational and having fun together as we do it. So I feel very, very lucky and honored to have you two and all the other hosts on ITSP Magazine. So thank you for having us.
Pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Two Cyber Chicks podcast with Erika and Jax. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share ITSPmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.